This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 140 of the USA Soccer Cast. We are bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald Wine. It has been a minute. Second half of the summer was very, very busy, but we are back, and we have a new international window for the United States men's national team. They have friendlies coming up this Saturday against Canada. That match will be at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City. They then move to TQL Stadium in Cincinnati, where they will take on New Zealand on September 10th. And the roster was released yesterday for this window, a 24-player roster. We'll get to that in a second, but the first question is, who's going to be leading this team? Greg Berhalter was fired as U.S. men's national team head coach back in July after the team crashed out of the group stage of Copa America. And while there has been massive reports recently that Mauricio Pochettino was going to take over, that hasn't happened yet. There's no official word from U.S. Soccer on the new timeline for a hire. If you remember, U.S. Soccer sporting director Matt Crocker said at the time of Greg's firing that the plan was to install a new coach by the September window. That clearly hasn't happened yet. So we go to plan B, an interim coach. That coach will be Mikey Veras, the U.S. men's national team U20 head coach. He was a opponent scout for the U.S. men's national team during the 2022 World Cup. And, of course, he coached the U20s at the 2023 U20 World Cup. He's also been the subject of his own rumors, as there are reports that he could soon become the first ever head coach of San Diego FC. But for now, he takes the job as the caretaker for this window. Joining him on staff is Nico Estevez, who rejoined the staff over the summer, and Jack Robinson, who came from Liverpool and was recently appointed as U.S. Soccer's head of goalkeeping. BJ Callahan is gone. He's now the head coach at Nashville SC, and there's no word yet on who else would join Veras and the rest of the staff for these friendlies. So, with no coach in place, no official coach in place, the roster took a little longer to be released, but we finally got it on Sunday afternoon, and here it is, the 24-player men's national team roster. We have 4 goalkeepers on this roster: Ethan Horvath, Diego Cochin, Patrick Schulte, and Matt Turner. Defenders, 8 of them: Austin Trusty, Marlon Fossey, Christopher Lund, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Joe Scally, and Caleb Wiley. Your midfielders: Johnny Cardoso, Luca De La Torre, Aiden Morris, Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna, and Malik Tillman. And finally, the forwards: Brendan Aronson, Valerian Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, Josh Sargent, and Haji Wright. On this roster, there's obviously a couple of new additions to this team. Diego Cochin, who is the goalkeeper at Barcelona 2. He's on the reserves level, but he has appeared in some matchday rosters for FC Barcelona. And Marlon Fossey, who is a right back at Standard Liège. He was also at Fulham, started there, and has UK citizenship, but this is his first foray into the main national team. Fossey has been on the youth level for the United States, but he hasn't been on the national team level, the senior national team level for the United States. And Diego Cochin is a guy who people have heard of and could be called in as a way to kind of see if he can be that goalkeeper of the future for the United States. It's also an important camp for several players who are trying to become part of this main player pool. You have Aiden Morris, who is now at Middlesbrough. You have Austin Trusty, who's now at Celtic. Caleb Wiley, who is now at Strasbourg on loan from Chelsea. And then Christopher Lund and Patrick Schulte also fit in that mold. These are guys that want to step up and prove that they are part of the main core of this national team for the next 2 years. Of course, we are looking towards 2026, and they want to be a part of that picture. And so this is an important camp for them to get their feet wet. And yes, there is no coach for them to really look at, but tape is everything. And you want to always leave good tape. They have an opportunity to do so in this camp. There are several main guys who are absent from this camp for various reasons. We'll start with the guys who are injured. You have Tim Weah, Tyler Adams, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Leonard Maloney, who I believe just got hurt over the weekend, and Kevin Paredes, who just got hurt a couple weeks ago. Those are guys who have been on national teams in the past, obviously. A lot of people have heard their names. They are not in this camp due to injury. You also have Anthony Robinson, who is playing after having offseason hernia surgery, but he's been playing banged up for the past year, according to Mikey Veras. And so the decision was made for him to stay put at Fulham for this window to get him some rest that he desperately needs. We don't need an Anthony Robinson for this window. Hopefully he is better and can continue to improve on what has already been a successful season for him thus far with Fulham. And then finally, there's a couple of guys who fit into that category of they just didn't have a preseason. And that's Weston McKennie and Tanner Tessman. Both of them were at their various clubs. Weston McKennie, obviously, at Juventus. Tanner Tessman was at Venezia. And both of them were the subject of many, many trade requests, trade rumors all summer long. And in one case, Weston McKennie, he ended up not going anywhere. What Juventus signed him to a new deal. So he's back in the graces there. But as a result, he's starting to get back up to speed and has not yet appeared for his team. Tanner Tessman did secure a move to Lyon, but just got there. And so I think the idea was for both of them to get some rest, get into their preseason mode, and really establish themselves with their clubs. So again, 24 players on the roster. They are meeting in Kansas City for the game this weekend against Canada. Next up, let's touch on what some of the things are to watch for in this window, but we will do that on the other side of this break. So stick around. We are back, and we're discussing the U.S. men's national team roster ahead of two friendlies in the September window against Canada and New Zealand. Now, of course, both these matches are just friendlies, one of which is against Canada and Jesse Marsh. But with the World Cup less than 2 years away, time's a ticking to prepare this team to take on the world. They need to recreate the sense of urgency, in my mind, that should already exist, but that we didn't really see over the past year, and especially this summer at Copa America. And now we have an interim coach for this window, something that I said back when Greg Berhalter was fired that I didn't want to see. And it's nothing against Mikey Veras at all, but if the Federation felt like they were wasting time by keeping Greg around, we're now having to navigate matches without a permanent coach with even less time before the world comes to our shores. So there are things that the team needs to do in order to get back to being a team that can take on anyone and beat anyone, and we need to rebuild that confidence. So the first thing in my mind is, who can step up in the goalkeepers to challenge Matt Turner for goalkeeper one? And again, I love Matt Turner. Matt Turner's secured a move to Crystal Palace. He's going to be the backup there. But being the backup is not going to get him a lot of playing time. And we need to figure out a way to keep these goalkeepers sharp. Ethan Horvath, Diego Cochin, Patrick Schulte, those guys are here because they want to necessarily challenge for the second spot. They want to challenge for the first spot. We need to see who amongst these guys are going to be in the mix for this. Gaga Slonina, a guy who's not in this camp, will also factor into that. But again, he just secured a move and he's trying to establish himself. But they all need playing time. They all need reps. They all need to stay sharp. And Matt Turner needs to do the same thing. So the competition amongst goalkeepers in this camp is going to be something that I would like to see. The next thing is, who can be the defense of the future and the now? We have Tim Ream here, but Tim Ream, we cannot rely on him forever. As much as this guy continues to be called in the camps and perform with excellence and with leadership, we cannot rely on this forever. We have to have guys behind him ready to step in once that day comes that Tim Ream is no longer a part of this national team program. So at left back, you have Caleb Wiley and Christopher Lund. That dynamic, or those guys going, and competing in practice, going to be great to see. Center backs, again, alongside Tim Ream, you have Mark McKenzie, Chris Richards, and Austin Trusty. Who steps up? Mark McKenzie just secured a new move to Toulouse. Austin Trusty just secured a new move to Celtic, where he will be partnering with fellow American Cameron Carter-Vickers, who again is absent due to injury. And then you have Chris Richards, who has established himself at Crystal Palace and is now starting to be a guy that you see on TV every single week. Who's going to be those guys that are going to partner together to create a lasting dynamic that can help this back line grow? And then finally at right back, Joe Scally, Marlon Fossey. Those two guys, of course, Joe Scally is probably the leader in the clubhouse at this point. I thought he did very well at Copa America, considering the fact that in the friendlies leading up to Copa America, he was not good. And also in Nations League was not good, but has improved from there. And I think the idea, obviously, we don't have Serginho Dest until likely February or March. Who's going to step up to be that right back in his absence? That's the question here. Joe Scally has the lead in this, but Marlon Fossey has a chance to show that he could be a part of that depth too. Next up, midfield depth. And can Aiden Morris add to that list? There are some guys, obviously, on here that are a part of that depth. Johnny Cardoso, Luca De La Torre, Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna, and Malik Tillman. Of course, Gio is, a starter most games. Yunus Musa can also be a starter. Malik Tillman, a guy who we see in just about every game coming off the bench. But when it comes to that depth that we need, again, with the Tyler Adams out, with Wes McKennie not here, who steps up? And can Aiden Morris be that guy who can be a part of that mix? And I think that's the big question for him. He gets that opportunity, and hopefully he makes the most of it. Up front, who's going to score goals? Brendan Aronson, Valerian Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, Josh Sargent, and Haji Wright. All of them doing well. Some are doing stellar with their clubs. But the question is, on the national team level, who is going to be that guy that any coach can rely on? Throw them in up front and know that they're going to be capable of scoring, or at least providing scores. If you think about the women's national team, the front three are providing all the goals. And on the national team on the men's side, it's still a question mark every week, every game, on who is going to be that guy. Yeah, Christian Pulisic can score goals. Josh Sargent can score goals. Valerian Balogun scored too during Copa America. But who's going to be that guy who steps up consistently and is a dynamite threat no matter when he touches the ball? That's the real question. And then finally, and I think the biggest question is, can this team turn over a new leaf and not waste this window? They need to show that they've learned from this summer. And in my mind, and I'm sure some of you out there agree, they need to play with a sense of urgency that is required in every single match. Don't treat this like it's two friendlies. Treat them like the first two group stage matches of the 2026 World Cup. Each of these guys on this team need to play for each other, but they also need to play like they could lose their spot. They need to play like this could be their last chance being on this national team, because it could be. And for these players that are looking to add themselves to the player pool, show why you belong at the dinner table. The schedule's not going to allow for really strong teams to come in during the fall. The strongest game that we have so far is a away game at Mexico in Guadalajara on October 15th. But that doesn't mean these other teams are going to come in and just lay down and let us kick the ball around. We have to create the stakes necessary to take our game to the next level. Every single window. This team needs to leave as better individual players and as a better team that has shown demonstrable growth. That took a step back this summer. And it's easy to admit that, and it's okay to admit that, and reset. But now it's time to go. We don't have much time to get better, so take full advantage of it over the next week with these two matches. That will do it for episode 140 of the USA Soccer Cast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to follow us on Twitter, and we're on YouTube as well. Find us on both at USA Soccer Cast. Subscribe, rate, and review our episodes. It really helps and is greatly appreciated. Don't forget, we have affiliate programs with a ton of places to get you the gear you love and to help you travel to see your favorite teams play or watch them from the comfort of your home. Head to our Linktree, linktree.com/USA Soccercast to learn more. Click the link to all these sites and support the show in the process. We have partnerships with a ton of places, and we have our stimulus store. We got the gear you need to be ready for this fall of soccer, so you should get on that. We will talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.